Hey everybody, it is Sam Stecker, half of MissionMonday.com. And this morning, while I was waiting an extra 5 minutes before my favorite coffee shop opened, I got a Facebook notification from Marissa. Marissa is a pretty legit individual. She's my former poetry slam coach and a great friend. And she had sent me an article that had to do with the toughest job, or maybe not, in education. And one of the things that it talked about is how tough it was to be an assistant principal. And it went through and talked about all the challenges that an assistant principal has and also all the benefits to the job. I really thought it was an interesting article. It hit home for me personally in a couple different ways. Number one, I've never been an assistant principal, but I used to be a dean of students. And those of you that have seen Mark and I speak, when Mark introduces me, that's one of the things that he always mentions, is that I was a high school dean of students. And what I later found out, that dean of students was a code word for assistant principal with a salary reduction of 25%, so the district can afford a cheaper administrator. Now, I love that job when I worked as dean of students. I learned more in the 3 years as dean of students than maybe any 3 years or any time period as a professional in education. But this article reminded me of a conversation I had with one of the teachers at that high school where I was dean of students. Her name's Dawn. Dawn is an amazing teacher as well. And Dawn and I were talking in the hallway, and he said, the problem is you do this job right. And because you do this job right, you'll never last as a dean of students. It will burn you out to do the job right, because it took so much energy and it was so high stress. Now, I think that is maybe one of the best compliments that I've ever received, but at the same time, it's the kind of notion that makes you a little despondent. I do this job well, so I won't be able to keep doing it. But Dawn also had something not quite right in that. I had another conversation later with Dawn. I was dean of students for 3 years, and after that, I was an elementary assistant principal. And Don and I again were talking in the hallway, and he said, your life is going to be so much easier. You're going from a high school dean of students to being an elementary principal, where all you're going to have to worry about is short people giving you hugs all day, which I kind of chuckled about it. And boy, Don could not have been more wrong. That was not an easier gig when I left dean of students at a high school to be an elementary principal. My stress level did not go down. It didn't stay even. It was a tougher job. But you know what? I sure had tough days and plenty of stress when I was a middle school teacher. And right now, as a superintendent of schools, guess what? It's a tough job. And this article that Marissa sent me, what's the toughest job in education? I think that might be a silly thing to kind of quantify. It's not a competition. Who has the toughest job in education? But what I think is important to realize is in education, there shouldn't be any jobs that are not tough. Every job is tough. When you look at our responsibilities, our expectations, both contractually and those hidden expectations, like that hidden curriculum way I was talking about in education, it is a whole nother level of stress. We are taking care of these lives of these children on a daily basis. It ought to be tough. But at the same time, even though I say there should be no jobs in education that are not tough, there should be no job in education that you cannot love, that is not in your heart. So we're getting ready to start this next school year. And I'm sure we've got some brand new teachers. My buddy Mark just talked to some new teachers out of one of our educational service units, and I'm sure he gave them some great advice. One of the things that I always tell people, find that job that's in your heart, especially in education. And if you look for an easy job, I don't want you in education. If you look for a job and it's going to be tough, there is going to be stress, but it is going to be in my heart. I'm going to love this job even though I am stressed out. I think you're going to be in the right spot. So anyway, what's the toughest job in education? I don't know, but I know every one of them is great if you do it the right way. That's all I have for you. By the way, as always, you can check us out at missionmonday.com, and you may have noticed we've got a new book out. You can buy it as an ebook. You can buy it as paperback. And that's also at missionmonday.com. There's a link up at the top. It'll take you either to Amazon or CreateSpace, so you can buy either one. Until next time, you guys take care. Keep spreading that Mission Monday message.